So whilst we're talking about whether a yarn advent is value for money, I thought it would be good to show you the colours. My cat is here helping or hindering. Yeah, so you sit there like a good girl. So beautiful, beautiful colour fade. I just cannot wait to knit this up into something scrumptious. If you have any ideas for projects for using these little delicious mini skeins, I would really value your opinion. So we come through. Hello and Happy New Year. My name is Ashley and I have this little channel called One Stitch After Another, and at the moment I talk about all things knitting. I'm hoping later on this year to show you some of my cross stitch, past and present, and whips and what have you. I hope you enjoyed the little blooper at the beginning. I wanted to, if you've been with me for Vlogmas, I wanted to show a sweep of all of the colours day by day, and I'd got it all set up nicely, and then my husband came to ask me, have we got any bay leaves? And I went, oh, for flipping heck's sake. Yeah, so yeah, never mind. They say, you know, never work with children and animals, never work when you haven't told your husband that you're filming. That's what he said to me. Today I am going to talk about yarn advents. Are they worth it? They are a very considered purchase, aren't they? And I'm going to show you a couple of finished objects, a couple of whips, and I'm going to share with you my knitting goals for 2024. I'm not calling them resolutions because I think it gives us pressure, doesn't it, to achieve those goals, but yeah, so they are goals rather than resolutions. Yeah, so it's things that I am aiming for. So welcome if you've not been here before, and welcome if you're a returning viewer. Please do take time to engage with me in comments and give a thumbs up. It really does help my little channel grow. So yarn advents, are they worth it? Let's just first of all put on the footage that I took in the end. We're safe. The cat has left the building. So you may well have invested in a yarn advent like me, and I thought it'd be a really good idea to show you all of the colours side by side. I've laid them all out in day order, and we'll just have a squiz at the lusciousness. So it starts with this kind of cream with a pop of pink going into golds and chestnut browns, hazelnut vibes, chestnut, a little bit of purple, pink. It's got a little bit of purple in it. Purple and pink. Coming to more of a soft lilac for day 6. This is lovely with a little bit of green in it. There's not much green in this year's actually. Again, that lovely rich gold with some purples coming on through into some blues. These kind of reminded me very much of birds' colours almost, and then this is just delicious. So everything came in a sewn Liberty fabric pouch, which I will be reusing. I'm going to attempt to do some English paper piecing with all of the fabric bags from previous year's advents as well. Look at this. This is kind of like pied wagtail colours. See what I mean about the birds? Coming through all the way to the end. And there we are on day 24 with very rich colours going on. 23 is really nice. So it kind of goes in a cycle. And then as an option, you could have the project bag, which is just stunning. It's actually got my yarn in it for my mystery make along. I'm doing the Nomadic knits. But you can see inside. Beautiful. And then this was the Christmas Day 100-gram skein and the coordinating 20-gram mini. Blue thinks that she wants some Merry Munch and a glass of Baileys. So if you have any ideas for what I could knit with this, I would be very, very grateful. And I'll take you back on top now. So I thought that yarn advent was worth every single penny. I'm ashamed to say I cannot remember how much it cost. It was a lot of money and it was a considered purchase. And last year I was supposed to be on a low buy, not no buy, but a low buy year. And I said right from the outset that I was going to allow myself that particular yarn advent. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did. The amount of attention to detail is just superb. The project bag and the Christmas Day skein and mini are just wonderful. Am I going to buy one this year? I do not know. I think I'm going to allow myself it. Some people, I don't know how they afford it. I mean, I only work part-time, so I don't earn a lot of money. I guess if you are working full-time and you haven't got any dependents and you've got a good, healthy, disposable income, you know, you can afford to buy 2 or 3 of these things. But no, it is very much a considered purchase for me. And I would say that this one is worth the money. The little fabric pouches made out of Liberty print. I am going to aim to do a piece of English paper piecing. This is my 3rd Sherry Irish yarn advent, and every year they've been in these gorgeous little pouches. I'll be able to get 2 pieces out of each bag, the front and back of the bag, and make 2 pieces. And looking at the fabrics, 2 of the collections work really, really well together, and some of the 3rd does as well. So I should be able to make quite a nice quilt, I think. If there had not been an option to buy the yarn advent in stages, I'm not sure whether I would have taken the plunge, but knowing that I could do the pre-order, put the deposit down and then pay the rest in August, it kind of spread the cost a bit. I really do want to say that I will purchase one this year, but do I need the yarn? I have got something coming on the channel this year which will astound you. It is my yarn stash. Somebody in either my first or second video said, can we see your craft room? Can we see your yarn stash? Well, I'm not showing you my craft room today because it is a real mess. But later this year, I will be showing you my yarn stash. And I've started to catalogue it, which I'll talk about in a minute. So are yarn advents worth it? I think it depends who the dyer is. I think if you know a dyer and you like their yarn and you like their colourways, go for it. I really love Sherry Iris's aesthetic. I like all the little extras that are included, and the story. I know a lot of you really enjoyed the story this year. So to me, it was worth it, but I do think it's a considered purchase. The colours are absolutely stunning, as you saw, and I really need some help knowing what to knit with it. I've got some ideas. I want to do a habitation throw with one of them, with one of the yarn advents that I've got, and I don't know whether I'd be able to do 4 and join them together somehow. I don't know. I'd have to have a look. That might mean buying the yarn advent this year, wouldn't it? But I've kept the little skeins in their bag with the day so that I can knit them in day order should I choose. Anyway, let's have a little talk about finished objects. So I haven't got as many finished objects to show you as I would have hoped for this time of year, but we've got the Imagined Landscapes Mystery Knit Along, which I did keep up with just about. So this is the snowman, which I really like. I chose just to do one snowflake because this yarn has got little bits of speckles on it and I didn't want to cover those up. I wished I'd blocked the hat because the hat's not quite right looking at other people's pictures of it, but he's all right. And then I've made a boo-boo with Mr. Knightley himself. I've overstuffed him and I've got pellets in. They're quite small pellets, but I didn't put them in a bag. I've included them in the stuffing and they are falling out. So there might have to be some remedial undoing at the bottom and taking stuffing out and reworking it. And again, I've only done one snowflake because I'm not very good at embroidery on yarn, on knitted fabric. I'm better at it on fabric, if that makes sense. And you can see I've pulled that stitch too tight, so it looks like he's got a dimple. But I love this bit, his nose and his hat. Again, the hat's not quite right. But those are my finished objects. So they will be going away safe. I shall put them in a little pouch. They'll go up with the Christmas decorations to come down for next year. Now, one of the other Christmas knit-alongs that I was doing was the Anna and Carlos Christmas stocking. I've kind of not finished. I finished day 19. So I've got 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. I've got 30 rounds plus the ribbing to do. I'm a bit concerned I'm going to run out of this colour and there's quite a lot of that left to do. So that is going to be interesting to see. It's going to need a jolly good block. And I don't think I'd want to wear this yarn next to my skin, but I do like it very much in terms of the patterns. The snowflakes are nice. It's certainly a very dense fabric. And this heel on here I'd never done before. I don't know whether it's an no, it's not an afterthought heel, is it? It's an afterthought heel when you knit a tube and then you kind of cut into, I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, there's that. Then my other whip, I'm almost up to date. So I'm doing the Nomadic Knits 12 Days of Knitmas. And if you've watched some of my shorts, apologies for the dreadful singing. The illustrations that I'm sharing are actually Quentin Blake, who is a British illustrator, very famous for illustrating a lot of the Roald Dahl stories, amongst other things. But I was a bit questioning about my colour choices to start with, and it's knit with 4-ply and lace weight, and I thought, I don't know. It called for Emma's Sori silk, and I thought, come on Ashley, you don't need to buy it. I've got this silk in my stash. Okay, it's not got the alpaca in it, but it is silk and it is the right weight, and actually it's knitting up beautifully. I used 6 different colours of Emma's Practically Perfect sock, or Perfectly Practical sock, I never know which it is. I haven't got them to hand to show you, but I really like the little pops of colour and the variegation, and then you've got this really, really subtle one here. I'll show it you the right way up. This here was day 4 and day 5, and she's called it tinsel. It's actually Estonian lace. It's called shell stitch. And then I've started day 6, which was yesterday, and it's called bows, or it's a dip stitch. I've managed to do 1 here. So you knit 5, slip 5 with yarn in front, knit 5, and then you knit around, etc, etc, and you end up with these horizontal bars in front of the work. And then I'm at the point now where I've joined in my contrast colour, and I have to pick up these stitches, but I just couldn't get it last night, and we were sitting in the dark watching the telly. So that is a little job to have a go at later on today. But I'm really enjoying this, and it is just enough. So I think most days you're knitting 24 rounds, and some are complicated, some are easy. It's like it's a little bit like boiled sweets. Yeah, so it'll need a good block, and I've got all these ends to deal with. But she said you don't have to worry about your ends because it's a sealed tube. One thing I did have difficulty with was the provisional cast on, and she called for a crochet provisional cast on. Me and crochet hooks do not mix. In fact, I broke a crochet hook. In fact, I meant to get it to show you. I broke a crochet hook while I was trying to do it, and I thought, oh my word, life is too short. So I looked for alternatives, and there is a long tail cast on that you can do where you use your scrap yarn and your working yarn at the same time, instead of having the tail of your working yarn and the working yarn of your working yarn, if that makes sense. So hopefully it'll work. If not, I'll bodge it. But yeah, this is the casualty. Yes. So yeah, me and crochet do not mix. I would love to be able to crochet. I've got a pattern in my Ravelry library for a granny square blanket, and it is very, very, very small granny squares because I don't like big chunky crochet, and it's kind of, the sample's kind of a bit like this actually, with lots of cream and lots of pops of vibrant colour, and I think it's done in a fine crochet cotton, or it might be linen. I need this. Did you manage to stay up until midnight? I didn't. I've been so tired, and the aftermath of Christmas. We're moving things around the house. I did a lot of stuff yesterday, and I was just tired, and I thought, well, you know, I've seen enough New Year's in. Yeah. Anyway, what do I need to talk about now? Oh yes, so my 5 knitting goals. So they are goals. They are not must-dos. They are goals. And maybe this time next year, can you believe it'll be 2025? And I've got a special birthday next year, and it's not 21. Okay, so number 1, which I have started, is to catalogue and sort my stash. And one of the things I'm going to do is look at the weight and the meterage. I've started filming a video, little clips of me working through my stash. And it is no word of a lie. I tipped it all out of various places. I went all around the house where I'd got yarn secreted, and I tipped it all on the floor in my daughter's room, which I wished I hadn't done actually, but I just wanted to get a visual representation of how much yarn I actually have. And it came up to my knees. It came up to my knees. My husband came in at one point and he said, "You've got a problem." I said, "Well, it is 30 years worth. Plus, you know." He said, "You've got to sell some of it. You can't possibly knit through all this." And I know I can't knit through it all. So that's why I'm going to catalogue it. I've got lots of partial balls like this that have no ball band or identification on them. I can obviously weigh them to see how much they weigh, and I can tell whether they're an Aran or a worsted or a DK or a fingering or whatever. But I think I'm only going to catalogue complete skeins that have got labels on, or things that I know that they are, and weigh them. So I've got a lot of cotton. I've got a lot of Rowan fine milk cotton, for example. So yeah, that is a massive job, and I wanted to be at the stage where I could say today, I own this much yarn, this is how many meters I've got, this is how many grams or kilograms I've got, but I'm not at that stage. It's going to take me probably a month, I think, to photograph it and get it all on Ravelry in my stash, but I'm writing it down as I go. Wish me luck. So that's my first goal. So the second goal is to knit a percentage of my stash this year. So let's say, for example, I've got 50,000 meters of yarn, complete yarn. I'm going to weigh my scraps and I'm going to weigh my 4-ply partial balls because they're going into my northeasterly. So I think if I keep them all in a bag and weigh it, when I've used, I can weigh how much, and then I know that roughly 10 grams of fingering is about 40 meters. So yeah, so I am going to knit a percentage of my stash in terms of meterage and grammage. Grammage, is that a word? Oh, you're seeing a bit of my Christmas stash here. Sadly, this is not a bottle of port, it's a bottle of bubble bath, but that could be very nice as well. And I've got some chocolate, and my plant is not doing very well, so I've brought it into here to hope it'll get a bit more light. So that is my second goal anyway. So I'm depending on the figure, it's either going to be 10% or 20% of my stash. I think 10% might be more reasonable, or set a figure like 10,000 meters. We will see when I've added it all up, but that is my second goal. Third is don't buy unnecessary yarn and magazines. Don't be influenced by others. So I did have an oops moment last year. I've started watching lots of knitting podcasts. They've become a real thing for me in the last couple of months, and I watch Hella, Danish Musings, who's got the most beautiful knitting podcast. She doesn't just do knitting, she talks about life in Denmark, and she works as a travel guide, a tour guide, and she sometimes takes you to places where she's working. An incredibly intellectual woman. I really aspire to be like her in my podcasts, but no, what you see is what you get with me. But yes, don't be influenced. I was influenced by her, and I bought 4 skeins of La Bien Aimé Cashmerino in a fluorescent pink, like flamingo colour. I don't know what I was thinking. It is beautiful. Do I want a whole garment in it? I've got 4 skeins, a sweater's quantity. Yes. So don't be influenced by others. And I need to tackle my FOMO, my fear of missing out, because I'm already thinking ahead to Christmas Eve box, Mother's Day box, Valentine's box, next year's yarn advent. I've got to not do it. I do not need it. But then part of me is like, well, if I don't get it, what am I missing out on? But to kind of counter that, I am going to allow myself the purchase of Sherry Iris's yarn advent, should I have the means to do so. I'm hoping that I'll be able to save some money, because I'm going to be less profligate, she says. I tried this last year. I did very well up until April, and then it all went to pot. But yeah, don't be influenced by others. Don't buy unnecessary yarn. I need to look at what I've got in my stash. I need to de-stash stuff that I know I'm not going to knit. But with that being said, my fourth goal is to publish a pattern on Ravelry. And I said this last year and I haven't done it. I have actually got a pattern that I wrote for children. So it's a very much beginner first project. Yeah, so I could do that, but also I'm looking at all my little scraps of yarn. They'll be good for kind of like working out stitch patterns, practicing stitch patterns, experimenting with gauge and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would like to publish a pattern on Ravelry, which will be free because nobody knows who I am, so why would anybody buy a pattern from me? And then finally, because I've been on for an absolute age and I do need to go for a walk before it gets dark, only knit what brings you joy. And I'll talk about that in my next podcast. I've made some poor choices in terms of colours that I've bought and patterns that I've started. So there's going to be quite a bit of frogging going on, I think. Yes, so watch this space. I do hope that you've enjoyed today's little chat, and don't forget to comment, like, share, and if you would subscribe, that would make me really happy. And I'll be back in a little while with hopefully an update on my yarn stash. Whatever you're doing, please do stitch with kindness and put love into every stitch. Bye now.